Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Omniverse of Nick, and part 16 to the Mcqueen Walking Dead tale. I'm your host, Nick, and like always, before we get into today's episode, be sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the Omniverse of Nick channel, and comment your favorite part or parts of ongoing or past stories, as well as future recommendations for stories and general discussion that you might see happen in the future. With all that out of the way, let's get into today's tale, because this one is going to be very action-packed and dark, leading up to a lot more serious moments. This and the last few parts is where we really get into the story fully. Now, we last cut off at Shane and Michonne and Negan, with Shane and Michonne really getting into the savior role, much against their original thoughts of Negan and everything. We then cut to Oceanside after all of what's happened with Shane and Michonne and all that, with Simon preparing to exterminate the Oceanside residents and the men and everything like that. But Michonne is there. Now, in my What If Sophia Joined Negan, she was perfectly okay with being around Simon, killing all of them. But now, because of her morale with Shane, it's definitely not going to be okay with her. And she even, was against fighting Sophia whenever she faked crying. So it goes to show. Simon says they're in no position to be giving orders, mainly Michonne, and that he is in charge here, he dictates. But then Shane promptly executes him and stops any killing or further killing from happening. This was number one, because Simon was very, very clearly shown to be not only a very bad second in command, but just completely out of control. And he opts to tell Negan to leave this place alone, considering what Simon was about to do. And Natalia and all the residents who would have their men of Oceanside are promptly left alone, never to be messed with. So it's just going to remain a dormant community. Once Negan is told about Simon's death and what happened at Oceanside, he's quite angry that he doesn't have a second in command anymore. But he's got to put himself in the shoes of what Simon was about to do and how he was before he met him and took over this place. So, honestly, Shane did the right thing, taking him down. And Michonne did the right thing by not going along with it, considering that she'd been with Shane for a while now. So, Shane is promptly put in the second command part of the Saviors. And Michonne is put into third in command, either that or would still be one of the top men. And Negan smiles at both of them, saying, well, you finally got your wishes, considering that they wanted to be high up to join Negan in the first place. After that, Negan's taking over of the groups and doing all that stuff goes per normal, with Negan meeting Jadis and the Junkyard group, and Shane taking Simon's place at Hilltop and that whole area. Which would honestly be very interesting to see how Shane would interact with Gregory and Jesus and all them, which we'll get into a lot more of that later on in the story. Then, we would originally get the Negan, Croat, Kingdom, and Simon whole little deal that we saw of in Dead City, and which was not shown to us in the original show. But here, that's not going to happen, at least not with Simon. Shane is going to be replacing Simon, obviously he already has, and instead of Negan taking the shots, Shane, he just outright murders the Croat after seeing all this, and he could tell that Negan was thinking about murdering him just seeing how Negan is, but Shane just took the shot just because. Negan's taken aback by this, but again, Shane has shown initiative much more than Simon, and in the correct way. And honestly, he doesn't mind that he put him in second in command, or that he just did this, considering what the Croat did. And he's actually glad to have Shane as the second in command, because he hasn't turned on him. At least, hopefully, not yet, or at any point. Gavin officially goes to the kingdom and takes over as the guy to go on runs there. We all know how that happens. And the sanctuary is in a good place, question mark, for now, especially with Shane and Michonne on the roster. Meanwhile, Abraham, Rick, Lady Mcqueen, and all of that group are heading to Washington from the farm after a long time of staying at the farm. And with Mcqueen there, it has been nothing but prosperous for this group, besides the recent governor add-on, you know? At some point, driving a decent way, they find the signs for Terminus. And Mcqueen, he actually thinks that this is something they should not want to pass up. A free community and a sanctuary? Sure, they could go to Washington, but this seems like a good place. But Rick, Abraham, and a few others are not so sure. Abraham says that in all likelihood, this could be some sort of safe haven, especially if they mention Washington and everything like that, but they should still err on the side of caution should this be some kind of trap, considering what they just went through with the governor. And Abraham would actually have much more concern over this because of that. They continue on their way, and Abraham's thoughts and worries are proven directly right, because they stare at a bloody, burnt up, destroyed looking sign with a bunch of words saying like, "You're not here," "clear," and just complete nonsensical writing and cryptic stuff. Nobody can understand it, but that's not what catches everybody. Abraham stares at the distance from the sign, and he very concerningly and worryingly looks at the group and tells them to look ahead. And this scares everybody and puts them off of their game. There's the sanctuary. There's Terminus. But it's burned down. Fire has exuded from all around it. The big building, the surrounding, the rails, the trees. All of it is completely burnt up and getting destroyed. So much for that. So, how did this happen? How could this possibly have happened just like that? Who did it? Well, I mentioned in the last episode that Morgan was heading towards Terminus. A very, 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 very overpowered Clear Morgan heading to Terminus. And once he got there, he promptly executed every single cannibal that was there. Gareth, Martin, Gareth and Alex's mother, everybody, even the people in the tram cars. And he burnt it all to the ground. The buildings, the cars, the weapons, the meat area, all of it. And he stands throughout all of it, running around, killing, yelling, and just completely out of his mind. But we all know Morgan to be that way. Flame transition, and it was just talking about flames and everything in the picture. That's kind of funny. I did not even mean to do that when I made this. Now, after he destroys and kills everything here, another place on Morgan's fire list, he sets his sights on what comes next to him, Father Gabriel's church. And everybody still looking at the carnage, the fire, the destruction. But then Rick sees something out of the corner of his eye. It's very in the distance, but it's not too far from them. It's the right side of where they're at right now. And he sees a figure. He can't make out who it is, but it's a figure enveloped in flamed clothing and an axe in his hand. And Rick, he can't make out who it is, and he tells everybody about it, and some of them can see it too. And Rick, he actually gets a bit of a closer look before the figure trails off, not seeing any of them, but he thinks that that's the guy who not only destroyed Terminus, but that looks like Morgan? He doesn't know. It seriously did from a distance, but Abraham said, should they care? If that guy's truly responsible for the destruction of this place, they should try to get away from him, not go near him. And this sanctuary, it's gone. It's gone. They need to head to Washington, not worry about some guy who just walked out of a destroyed community. They should get away from him. But Mcqueen, seeing Rick's resolve, thinking that it's Morgan, the guy who Rick talked about saving his life before he saved his life, Mcqueen says that if that's true, maybe it's not him. Maybe he's lost his mind. Or maybe he needs help. Maybe he was in that community. Maybe he needs them. But Abraham can't believe that Mcqueen is going along with this whole charade. And that he would even consider going near that guy no matter who he is. Because why should Abraham or any of them care? But Abraham's still got to get used to the whole talking car thing. And if the talking car thinks that they should do this, he can't argue with it. Let's be real here. So, very reluctantly, they follow the figure to a church. Father Gabriel's church. Morgan, after destroying all of Terminus and all its residents, sets his sights squarely on the church, ready to kill and burn down everything and anyone who is inside that building, walker or not. But then Rick and everybody see who the figure is. It's Morgan. Rick was right. But was that really him who destroyed that community? What's happened to him? What's going on? But he knows that he will not be able to get any answers unless he confronts this guy. That cannot be Morgan. He looks so unrecognizable, but the back of him, it looks too much like him. And he yells out. He says Morgan, hoping this isn't him or that he'll respond in a way that won't make him look like he's a monster or someone who just did all that. But the person who looks at him is Morgan, but his eyes are piercing red. The look on him is stone cold and furious, looking right at Rick, not moving and ready to kill him. Rick, he cannot believe it. That's Morgan. And the look, and he can't believe it. Abraham and Mcqueen are the two next who react, and they all can agree, and soon everybody else can too, that Morgan is the one who did this. He is the one who just destroyed that community, and they can't believe it. Rick is the one who can't believe it most of all, but he can't think that this is Morgan. It can't be, but the look, the way Morgan looks, that this can't be him. And he steps a bit towards Morgan, hoping for some kind of interaction. But the interaction that Morgan gives is nothing close to what Rick ever could have expected. Morgan rushes straight towards them with malice, killing Patricia, Jackie, and Jim all at once in the swiftest of motions and brutally. After that, Abraham, Rosita, Daryl, Tyrese, and Sasha, and even Mcqueen all arm themselves, not caring if this is Morgan, if this is Rick's friend, not caring. He just killed 3 of their own. If this doesn't show he destroyed that community and he's a monster, nothing will. But Rick tells every one of them in the seriousness of his life, the most serious, to stand down. Don't engage. And he yells at Morgan to stop. Stop. This isn't him. What is he doing? But Morgan is not listening. He's not paying attention to Rick. He's not paying attention to anything but death, carnage, and blood, and clearing. He then goes for Jimmy, and then Amy. After this, he's killed 5 people too many. Daryl, Rosita, and now Mcqueen. Everybody is arming their weapons, seriously ready to shoot. Even Mcqueen. He can't get past the fact that even if this is his best friend Rick's friend, he can't stand their group just lost 5 of their own. But Rick still pleads with them with every fiber of his being. Do not shoot Morgan. This isn't him. This isn't like him. Something's happened to him. But before he can finish his sentence, an axe is swung in his direction, which Rick barely manages to dodge, cinching a good portion of his hair, which would actually be reminiscent to him dodging Tomas and Negan, kind of Ultra Instinct-like, if you agree with that statement. But yeah, Rick at this point almost just losing his head or his eye or something. He has to fight with force to get Morgan to stop. He can't do words, or he can't risk them killing, but he has to force Morgan back himself. So we now prepare ourselves for a Rick versus ultimate clear overkill Morgan, which is where we leave off. Will this battle go the way Rick wants, or will Morgan kill everybody? And that's where we leave off. What will happen next? How did you like this episode? And what is your favorite part so far? With all that out of the way, guys, I truly hope that you enjoyed this, because the Rick versus Morgan episode next time is going to be even more action-packed. Especially with Morgan killing 5 people all at once. You thought the end of the Dale story was big. This isn't going to be as big as that, as I've stated, but we are getting really into the serious stuff at this point in the story, and you're not going to want to miss any of it. Like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys next time.